Welcome back to Master Your Glass, and I am your host, Livio. On the table today, I have 8 different expressions of Wild Turkey Bourbon. So I guess you know what the show is going to be about. It's going to be about Wild Turkey Bourbon. Let's get into this. Before we get into today's tasting, let's talk a little bit about bourbon, America's whiskey. What exactly is bourbon? Inside of every bottle of bourbon, you'll always get a few ingredients, and they are a mix of grains, yeast, water, and good old-fashioned time spent in the barrel. Let's talk about the grain real quick. Now, the grains that are used to make bourbon are typically corn and a combination of wheat, rye, and barley, and you can pick and choose that combination how you wish. The minimum of percentage of corn that goes inside of a bottle of bourbon must be 51%. Now, most producers will go up to about 70%. That combination of grains is typically what the distiller refers to as a mash bill. And once again, the mash bill of bourbon needs to be 51%, but it can go higher as long as it doesn't go above 79%, to which it will then become a corn whiskey. The product must be aged in a barrel for a minimum of 2 years. Now, most of them, the ones on the market, are about 5 to 8. That's typically it. And talking about that barrel, it must be a new barrel, so never aged anything in it. It must be American oak, and it's typically burnt on the inside, which gives the barrel a little char. There are 4 levels of char in bourbon, with going from 1 to 4, and the producer picks the one that feels will best represent the whiskey they are about to make. Let's talk about Wild Turkey here. So Wild Turkey is an iconic brand from Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Started in 1855 when a gentleman by the name of Austin Nichols started selling bourbon basically out of his shop. At that time, there was no distillery yet. That history is about to come. In 1869, the iconic distillery was opened right in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And it really wasn't until 1940 where the distillery got the name Wild Turkey and the labels bared that name. That story supposedly is that an executive from the distillery was out on a hunting trip with friends, and as they were drinking whiskey, they were of course hunting wild turkey, and so the name Wild Turkey came about and they slapped it on the label, and now we have the iconic brand. Speaking of iconic, in 1960, Jimmy Russell, who's known as the Buddha of bourbon, started working here. His father and grandfather already worked for the distillery, so this is a long living legacy. Along with his son, Eddie Russell, who is currently also distilling at Wild Turkey, and who is the master distiller. They have a combined 100+ years of experience. So think about how much knowledge, how much passion, how much legacy goes into a bottle of Wild Turkey. So I'm gonna go ahead and start drinking. The first one that I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna jump right into the Wild Turkey 101. Now, the mash bills of Wild Turkey are not really known. We can speculate that this is about a 70% corn bill. We can speculate that there's a little bit more rye into it, but we don't really know what it is. It is basically 50.5% alcohol by volume, which is where the 101 proof comes. I'm gonna go ahead and just give this a look. It's got that nice, beautiful, deep gold color to it. If you're familiar with the video that I did even during the holidays, this is a great bargain bourbon for me. And by bargain, I don't mean it tastes cheap. I only mean it costs really good for what you're drinking here. So we got that gold copper color there. Let's call it copper. Oh man. I'm getting a candied orange aroma to it. Getting some vanilla and some caramel. Maybe a little toastiness. Yeah, I'm going back to a little bit of almond aroma to it. A little nutty, almondy aroma. Let me set this bottle aside. This whiskey here is aged up to 6 to 8 years. We've talked about the aroma, and if you ever follow me in tasting, I don't taste directly neat. I automatically start with a little bit of water. I skipped that step, especially because there's 8 bourbons on the table here, so I need to, use my palate the best I can here. The aroma opens up a little bit with the addition of just a touch of water. I think that orange note now turned more into almost a lemon citrus just by adding a little bit of water. Very nice. What's really distinctive about this product is it's got a nice little rye spice to it. Now, it's not a rye whiskey, it's a bourbon, but there must be a really good content of rye in this bottle because I'm getting a little bit of that spicy cola-ish flavor that I get when I taste rye whiskeys. Also, that candied orange is there in my mouth, kind of lingering. It has a really nice texture to it as well, not bad at all. Yeah, very, very nice. If I just put a drop on the tip of my tongue, I get a little bit more vanilla, chocolatey flavors to it. But overall, like I said, I'm really familiar with this brand here. Just such a solid whiskey, and it has been iconically for probably over 60 years, and that is Wild Turkey 101. Now, they also make a 101 rye whiskey, so we're gonna go ahead and try that. Again, the difference in this case here is that the minimum amount of rye in this bottle needs to be 51%. We don't know exactly what that mash bill looks like, but we still have the same rich copper color here that I was getting in the previous expression. On the nose, a lot more dry. There's a lot less. This one's a little bit more difficult to detect. It's giving me a lot less than the previous one was. Just a little nuttiness and a little toastiness. Very dry. And a hint of lemon citrus, just a hint. I mean, I'm having to look for it. Yep. And that's about it on the aroma. I'm gonna go ahead and put this bottle away here. I'm gonna add a little bit of water here just to open it up. Let's see if anything changed on the nose. God, that lemon citrus really is popping. Incredible. Okay, let's give this a sip. Very nice. Very, very nice. This is a powerful rye. It comes at you pretty nicely. And I'm getting, again, a lot of notes of that dry cola rye flavor that I get out of rye. I'm getting a nice big tobacco flavor, big woodsy notes, like rich woodsy note, coupled with a little hint of caramel and vanilla on the side. The finish is long, and I know that because I swallowed it a few seconds ago, but it's still here, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna go away anytime soon. So this is a really rich and nice rye whiskey. The next whiskey I'm going to try here is the Rare Breed. This is basically a blend of 6, 8, and 12-year whiskeys. It's bottled at 112.2 alcohol by volume. Barrel proof basically means that we're kind of drinking the whiskey straight out of the barrel, but this is a blend. Color here is just a little bit richer, a little bit deeper in that mahogany than the previous two expressions. Let's go ahead and see what this smells like. This is interesting. In addition to that smoky and woodsy aroma, I'm getting a little bit of a banana, like a ripe banana tropical note on the back end. Very interesting. And still a little bit of that characteristic orange that I'm getting, but it's kind of buried in the back. I'm not necessarily looking for it. I'm finding it because I just tasted the other two and I know how to find it. So the aroma is maintaining that Wild Turkey style, which, by the way, if I haven't mentioned this, the mash bills and the distillates here are always the same. What changes is either, in all of these expressions, is either how much they barrel it, or whether they blend it, or what they bottle it, what proof they bottle the product to it, but the distillate here is actually all the same, which is really cool. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of water here, just like that, before I taste. Let me see if anything has changed on the aroma. Oh, it opened up a little bit. It's getting a little pruny now. I'm getting a little fig or a prune or some sort of a dried fruit in there in addition to that orange. Very nice. Oh yeah, really nice. What a great combination of the sweetness, orange notes, vanilla caramel of a Wild Turkey, but on steroids because it's bigger, it's higher in proof. But also the rye component is really nice in here. So again, that little spice, peppery from the rye grain as well, both really meshing really nicely together. The finish is elegant and really, really nice. Let's take another sip and see if there's anything else here that I need to catch. Very nice. Very, very nice. I would say this is just a really solid, on steroids expression of Wild Turkey bourbon. The next one I am going to taste is the Wild Turkey Rare Breed Rye. This too, and I probably didn't mention it on the previous one, is non-chill filtered, which this is going to give us a little bit more flavor. It will get a little hazy when I add some water to it. That is actually a good thing. This is a blend of 4, 6, and 8 year rye whiskeys. It's bottled at 112.8 proof. And let's see what this one is all about. Nice, rich mahogany color. Ooh, interesting aroma here. There's a little banana involved. Yeah, there's a little banana and vanilla, but vanilla this time in a different way than I've had it in the previous ones. This vanilla here is a little bit more softer. It's a little bit more delicate. It's kind of pushing out the spice from the rye and those little banana notes that I'm getting. Really, really nice. Okay, a little dab of water here. And again, a lot of people taste the spirit neat first and then they add the water. I can't always pull that off, so I add water right at the first sip. Why? Because I personally always drink these on a cube, or depending on the whiskey, in a Manhattan or in an old fashioned. So I rarely drink it actually neat. The aroma opens up to a little bit more of a rye note here, and with some fruity, citrusy touches. Texture is really nice, and the flavor is really dry and spicy, like a good rye should be. It transitions into this nice little spice, peppery note, and even a little bit of green apple. It just maybe, I feel like I swallowed the whiskey, but on my tongue, there's a very thin slice of green apple that it's not just flavoring my entire mouth because the whiskey kind of diluted it, but there's a little green apple note in here that I'm really enjoying. The texture is lovely too. Yeah, and now I'm getting, funny, second sip, I got a little bit more of a chocolate note to it for some reason. The chocolate's really popping out of it, and those other fruity notes have kind of taken a back seat. Yeah, this is really yummy. As you can see, I've taken 3 sips of it because even though I have quite a few more to go, because this is just a really tasty, solid rye here. Now the next one, or actually I'm gonna just do 2 together, I'm gonna taste are the 2 Russell's Reserve. This is a great contribution between father and son, 2 iconic whiskey makers, Jimmy and Eddie Russell. Over here, this is a 10-year bourbon whiskey. And here we have a 6-year rye whiskey. This one here actually is also autographed by Eddie Russell, so thank you, Eddie, for that. Let's go ahead and take the 2 glasses right here. Their color is about the same. Yep, nice little rich copper aroma to it. I'm gonna compare the two just so we have a little bit of a, I don't know, a comparison of what the bourbon versus the rye is gonna smell and taste like. On the bourbon, I'm going right back to that really nice bourbon, typical Wild Turkey aroma, which is nice, and it's got that nice touch of sweetness, a little bit of spice note to it, vanilla caramel, some toastiness, that orange peel, really, really nicely. How does it compare to this guy right here? Oh, much drier. Yeah, much, much drier here. Just a little more lemony, like lemon peel and dry aroma on this one. It's got a nice little perfumey element to it. When I put it a little further away from my nose, some really nice perfume notes come out to it, a little florality that I had never gotten before in this product. Really, really nice. Let's go ahead and add some water to both. A little splash here and a little splash here. Okay. Aroma's opened up. Got a little butterscotchy here on me, on the aroma, with a little vanilla backbone. Oh yeah, just good old whiskey. Vanilla, caramel, butterscotch. Seems like there seems to be a little peppery, black pepper coming through. Yep, and that vanilla note. Just really, really nice. Super tasty, just very, very tasty, but elegant. Not in your face, but bold. Oh wow, almond. There's a big old almond in here. Wow, incredibly almondy aroma here. A little citrus note, maybe lemon and orange together. Oh yeah, this is incredible. I'm getting a little cherry and a little bit of almond notes in here, along with the vanilla and the caramel that are kind of signature of the flavor here. But this is a little bit more dry, obviously coming from the spice of the rye whiskey. Just a drier version, a little bit more, I wouldn't say elegant, but a little bit more, as I mentioned, this one was bold. This one here is just a little bit more subdued. It's still bold in flavor, but it's not bursting. It's just giving you those nice, dry rye flavors. I'm super impressed with that almond flavor. I'm an almond freak. I love orgeat. I love marzipan. I love almond-based desserts. This one's really doing the job for me. Alrighty, so I'm going to put these two away. The next two we are going to taste are a couple of fun little brands, or a couple of fun little expressions here. Over here to my left, I have Wild Turkey Longbranch, which is a joint venture between Matthew McConaughey, the actor, and the creative director of Wild Turkey, by the way, in addition to master distiller Eddie Russell. And over here I have Wild Turkey American Honey, which is basically a honey flavored version of Wild Turkey. Let's go ahead and start with the Longbranch. Going back to a nice, just deep gold color here. Really nice. And on the nose, interesting. Okay, very interesting. So this product here is actually refined with American white oak and Texas mesquite, hence the Matthew McConaughey, that is a tribute to his side of the contribution, whereas the American white oak is the contribution to the Russell side of the family. And so I'm getting definitely a little different aroma here, which might be actually the influence of the Texas mesquite. Still a very distinctive, rich, sweet vanilla caramel aroma that I found in the original Wild Turkey 101 as well. Very nice. Okay, I'm gonna add a little splash of water here, just like so, and give it a little whirl. Some of the spices are coming out from the rye, in addition to probably what the Texas mesquite is giving to it. I'm not detecting it, but I am detecting something different, which is good because, of course, we don't want this to taste like the other ones. Oh yeah, so this is a lot more tobacco-ish, a lot more spicy, a lot more woodsy. It's giving me a lot of like a bitter chocolate flavor on my tongue right now. I need another one of these. Yeah, just a touch of little smoke and pepper, but predominantly woodsy and predominantly, again, a little dark chocolate flavor on it. Believe it or not, the finish is actually quite long. The whiskey's kind of gone away, but some of the spice, probably again from the combination of the Texas mesquite and the American white oak, is lingering on the top of the tongue. Very cool. And let's go ahead and try the last one. This is obviously a fun little brand here, American Honey. What a cool name. Basically a honey liqueur made with wild turkey. Lighter in color, obviously. And let's give this a sniff. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the honey is there, but it's not predominantly the only thing I'm smelling in here. There seems to be a little vanilla and almost like a subdued version of the vanilla that I was tasting in some of the other ones. Much less, but very well balanced there. A touch of lemon citrus and maybe again a slight banana in the very, very end. This is a very nice, rich product, sweet in flavor. The honey, it's not a honey bomb. It's there and you can taste it and it's really well integrated. I didn't add any water because it's 35.5% alcohol by volume, meaning 71 proof. And it's nice and sweet, and it's not just something you can put in a cocktail, it's actually something you can sip on after a meal because you're still getting the whiskey is there, it's yummy, it's tasty, but the honey flavors and just sweetness in general, not just honey, are not overpowering that whiskey flavor. One more sip here. Yeah, just really, really nice. Love those honey notes. And it's getting a little bit more sweeter as I took my second sip. But again, not a big honey or a sugar bomb. It still leaves your palate somewhat dry and very nice. I recommend this in any type of a cocktail. You know, if you're looking for something, for instance, even just a good old bourbon cocktail, if you want to add a touch of honey note to it, you can maybe do something like a lowball, which is 2 parts of your bourbon to 1 part of the American honey, and now you're giving a little bit more honey note to your bourbon. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna just make a couple of cocktails, and so I'm gonna clear the table and put my tools, and I'll be right back. So I'm gonna make for you 2 different drinks. I'm gonna make the Russell's Reserve Boulevardier, one of my favorite cocktails. As you know, I'm a Negroni fanatic, so that makes me also automatically a Boulevardier fanatic. And then I'm gonna make just a good old-fashioned with the Wild Turkey 101 rye. So I'm gonna make them both at the same time, but let me start first with the old-fashioned here. I'm gonna basically take the sugar cube, add it into here. Now I'm gonna saturate this sugar cube with Angostura bitters, just like that, make it nice and soft. And then I'm also gonna just add a dab of water. Now, did you know that before this drink was called the Old Fashioned, it was actually called the cocktail? Isn't that cool? And then it changed in the late 1800s to becoming the Old Fashioned. Why? Because cocktails started having new ingredients, they started having liqueurs in them, and so some people liked the drink the new way, the improved way, and some people liked it the Old Fashioned way. So in here, I'm just gonna go ahead and muddle this nice little sugar cube with the bitters and the soda. I'm just gonna create a little paste here, just like that. Okay. Okay, so in this drink here, I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 ounces, 90 mils of the Turkey 101 rye. There we go, just like that. And once again, once the ice gets in, it's not gonna be very easy to mix, so I'm gonna just mix it up right now. You're gonna get a little bit of that granular sweetness from the sugar, from using granulated sugar over using the simple syrup, which many people like. Now here I have my nice big ice cube. I'm gonna just put it right in here, just like that. Slip it out. And then, just to show you, I'm gonna stamp this and I'm gonna put the Master Your Glass logo right there on top of it, just to make it look a little more purty, you know? And there we go. And I'm going to garnish this one with a nice little cherry. I have a little tub here of Luxardo Maraschino cherries, which I love. I'm gonna set that right on top of the cube. And then I'm gonna just take one of these dehydrated oranges and I'm gonna put it right there, scooped in there. And I will set that right over here. Let's go ahead and make our Boulevardier. For our Boulevardier, I'm gonna build it directly in the glass, and I'm gonna use some nice ice cubes here. In the Boulevardier, this is an equal parts cocktail, so I'm gonna go ahead and put 1 ounce or 30 mils of the Russell's Reserve bourbon, just like so. There we go. Next ingredient, I'm going to put Campari, created in 1862, a beautiful bittersweet liqueur, also better classified as a bitters, which means it is nice and bitter, but also has a lot of sweetness, stimulates that appetite, also stimulates that digestion. And last but definitely not least is a nice sweet vermouth from Italy. In this case here, I'm using Cinzano, and do not forget that vermouth always goes in the fridge, okay? When you're done using it, you keep it in the fridge. It is a wine, it will oxidize. And by keeping it in the refrigerator, it will last longer. It will give you fresher flavors and your cocktail will taste better. Go ahead and give this a nice little mix, just like that. Okay. I'm gonna top it with a few more cubes. And the reason why I want to do that is because on this drink, I want to basically tuck a nice little orange slice. It's common also to put a burnt orange peel or just the essential oils of the peel. But believe it or not, what this drink needs right now is actual freshness. If there's one thing it's missing, it has a nice combination of bourbon, sweet vermouth, Campari. It's got a lot of herbs, a lot of spices, a lot of caramel notes. What it really needs is a touch of fresh. And so rather than the oil peel or the essential oils of the orange, any of that, I want to give it a little bit of freshness by just tucking this orange, if it'll work with me, right in there. And there you have two iconic whiskey-based cocktails, the Boulevardier and the Old Fashioned. I'm gonna go chronologically. I'm gonna go with the Old Fashioned first. Cheers. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'm glad I went with the spice on this one because that spice is kicking really nicely along with the bitters, along with the sugar. It's just a really nice drink. This is a cool little sipper. Of course, if you can get your hands on a big ice cube, it makes a world of a difference because it will dilute slowly. It gives you a little bit more time to enjoy it rather than fighting the dilution and having to drink it so much quicker. I'll set that just like that. And now the Boulevardier. Oh my gosh. And you know what, I have to say it, but if I really had to pick, while the Old Fashioned is more iconic, if I really had to pick, the Boulevardier is the way I would drink whiskey in a cocktail today. So delicious. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, you already know what to do, so please do come back to Master Your Glass with me, Livio Laro, where you get expert instruction for everyday consumption.